Welcome to Superlative. I am your podcast host, Ariel Adams. In each episode, you will meet someone who has inspired or takes inspiration from today's wristwatch industry. Every week, let's dive deep into the world of crafting exotic timepieces, from the people who dream them up to the people who dream of them. It's time to get started and meet today's guest. Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with the Superlative Podcast. My guest today is Mr. Hakim El Kadiri. He is the founder of Elka Watch. Hakim, welcome.
Hello, Ariel. Thank you for your invitation on Superlative Podcast. It's really an honor to be here with you.
My pleasure. You were introduced to me, highly recommended, if you will, by a mutual colleague, Alon from Ace Jewelers, who I believe has also been on the Superlative Podcast. Probably have to have him back. And he is a real advocate. I guess that's an interesting sort of place to start, is with people like Alon who bridge the last mile, as I say, between watch and customer, and are those men and women that get the watches to people. Talk a little bit about the importance in the industry of guys like Alon and Ace Jewelers.
I know Alon for many years. I mean, I was working in the past for Hamilton, and he had already, that was something in 2008 or 2010. I don't really remember the real time, but so we had a good relation at that time. And already in 2008 or 2010, he had already his own podcast. I mean, that was a different kind of communication, but you can still find the interview he did at that period. So it's on YouTube. It's amazing. He is really, as you said, a link between the people who like to watch, the brands. So he knows almost everyone in the watch industry. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I've known him for years, and that's one of the reasons I started the show, to be honest, is that years from now, I worry that the personalities, the voices, the interactions that make today's watch industry will be lost, and no one will know the reason why a store was popular or why a brand was cool unless they get some of these conversations to talk about it. And I think that I've always seen certain retailers as being these unsung heroes. And what shocks me right now is that a big part of the watch industry is moving so much in the direction of cutting out the independent retailer because they think they can sell by themselves. And what it leads me to believe is that this is the most amazing news for brands like Elka. Because if the big watch brands, the corporate-owned ones, are no longer filling up the space in the stores, they can go back to promoting brands like yours, right? The third-party retailers.
Yes. It's exactly this. I can see, and I have the chance also to be now, to develop the brand today. Because I would say before, every big brands was selling also through retailers. And today I have the feeling that, it's probably not a feeling, that most of the big brand, the big group are doing their own shops. They are having their own retail. They are also selling more and more also on their own website. And I think it's a big chance today also for micro brands, for independent brands to be seen also and to be sold also in retailers like, you can see all over the planet. So it's really a big chance today. So when I'm going to visit the stores, I have the chance to be taken by the retailers.
And that's important because you put yourself in the shoes of the consumer and you're like, I'd buy from here, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Now, Elka, of course, sells online, but has relationships with at least one retailer, with Ace. Talk a little bit about, as you start a brand today, this very strange situation where you have to kind of dabble in a few different sort of commercial strategies, like some wholesale, some direct to consumer, maybe some other things. Like, how have you been able to handle having to figure out all that in addition to, getting a nice watch made at not too expensive a price?
Yes, today, developing a brand. So, of course, I'm by myself. I'm alone to develop the brand. So you have to develop the product. You have to develop the strategy. You have to develop also all the marketing, your website and everything. And today, so you also have to discuss with retailers. But as I said before, so there is a big chance today because the space is getting free for new brands. But you have also, as we did also with Ace, you have also to do some collaboration because nobody knows really the brand's Elka. Nobody knows about the background of and the history of the brand. And you have to double the effort to make the brand known also.
So for you, that's why you would do collaborations, is to help get the brand more well known?
I think yes. It's not. I think because that is also the second collaboration I'm doing. So I did the first one with a French magazine, which is called also Motor Heroes, Auto Heroes, and Montre Heroes. And I think it's really a way that is helping to make the brand scene. As an independent, so you don't have the income, you don't have the money also to spend in marketing. You don't have. You have really. It's like the family wallet. So you have to spend for the watches, for the development, for things like this. And then after that, only after you have enough money, so you can reinvest in new collections or in new products. So you have really a little amount of money, and the only thing that you can do is really to find kind of pirate ways of developing the brand. So a collaboration like I did with Alan was really, really, really good because Alan is, as you said also before, he is known by everyone. He is really the man that who is going to gather, everyone. And it is something that is really helping the brand to develop and to be seen. And Alan is really a fantastic guy. And when he says something, he is going really to do it. And so he is involved. He is invested also in the project.
So I want to just describe what this collaboration was with Ace Jewelers so that people can get some idea of it. You'll have to go to the Elka website. It's elkawatch.ch in order to understand the basic design. There was 4 watches, actually, and each of them has a slight difference on the dial in the form of the text. You have the sort of traditional Arabic numerals. You have Hindi. You have Chinese characters, and then, of course, you have Hebrew. And it's done in what you would call the double digit. So it's essentially the minute track. They serve as the hour markers, but they are the minutes. And we have seen other watches that have used the letters from alphabets to represent numbers in Hebrew, for example. I believe in Arabic as well. In Hindi. That's how it is. You can use those letters. That in English you can't really to represent numbers. This is a little bit different than some of the other things you did in terms of this different languages. Whose idea was this? And for you as a brand owner, how do you decide who gets to have the final creative decision? Is it you? Is it the retailer? How do you figure that out? Because at the end of the day, there can only be one person's design that's made.
Okay. I just want to add something also because
Please.
Know that Elka is my nickname because my name is Hakim El Kadiri. Okay. And all my friends are calling me Elka because it's kind of really short name and it's easy.
Oh, it's your nickname. That's cute.
It's my nickname. And the other point is when I was looking for a brand, for a name for the brand, I had in mind, first of all, to take Elgin, an American brand, because I was working for Hamilton for years, and I loved this kind of period. I loved this kind of design and so on. But then the name Elgin was also already taken. Then I went into a list. There is a list of 1,700 names on the net, and so still existing brands and dead brands. And then I went into this list, and right after Elgin, I found the name Elka, which is Edouard Louis Kik from Amsterdam. Okay. And Elka watch brand, Elka Watch Co. was already existing in the past, but the brand disappeared in the 70s. And so when I took the name, I saw it, I wanted to protect it, and I saw that was free of rights. And then I protected the name Elka Watch & Co. And once I did it, I called Alon because I knew him for years. And he told me, the brand Elka is something really interesting because I bought two shops to Mr. Kik. Two shops in Amsterdam to Mr. Kik. And then so this is kind of relation already between Elka and myself.
That's cool.
And, Edouard Louis Kik from Amsterdam. So Mr. Kik was a Jew, and he wanted also to do a dial with Hebrew numbers. And he did it, of course. And Alon had one piece, and he showed me the piece. And then we said, okay, that is really interesting, but it's the 1 to the 11, the 1 to the 12. And 1 to 12 was interesting. But then, so we wanted to have a relation also with the series that I did, the X series from Elka, which is the numeric, as you said before. And then we said that could be something interesting. That could be nice to have the numeric, because the numeric is coming from the flight instrument that was done between Heuer and Elka in the past. Because in the past they did already a lot of collaboration. So they had collaboration with Vulcan, with Minerva, with Heuer, and so on. And then we took the design of my X series and we placed the Hebrew numbers on it. That was really interesting. In Hebrew, we don't have the 00, so we had to place the 60 instead of the 00 at the beginning. That is the only difference. And
right.
Then, so as I didn't want really to have only one piece, one model only. So the idea was also to create something like the diversity collection, and we call it diversity. It's like crossroads between all the people around the planet. So we wanted to do something also in Arabic, the kind of Hindi numbers. And we added also the Chinese and the regular model, because we decided the color also, together, Alon and myself. So at the beginning, we went on the green color, but at the end, Alon wanted to have the blue because the blue is also the color of Amsterdam. So then it was really a communication between us, and we changed a lot of things. We changed the design, we changed the color, we changed the mood, and at the end, so we found the real model, the real models we wanted to have for the collaboration.
Did you find that you could predict the people who would buy these things? Like, did the Hebrew dial go to people of Jewish background? Did the Chinese go Chinese? Or did you find that when people bought them, it actually went all over the place and there's no way to tell?
No, not at all. So in fact, it was not predictable. So, we sold, Alon knew that, where, the pieces were going. But the first pieces that we sold were the Hebrew models. Okay. So here right. We have the main success is on the Hebrew dial. Then after that, it is the regular, numbers. The regular Arabic number that we right. are used to have. And the second model is the Chinese, but usually it's not bought by the Chinese, because usually if they buy a Swiss-made watch, they don't want to have calligraphy, the Chinese calligraphy on the dial, because this is not something which is Swiss.
Is that the same for people that are Chinese but not raised in China? Like there's people in America, for example.
No, that is a good question, because most of the pieces that we sold with the Chinese numbers are people that are living abroad. That could be, in the Netherlands, that could be in Singapore, or in Malaysia. So we sold in different countries like this, but of course, not yet also in China. And also I talked with people in Hong Kong, and they say, no, this is something special. So if the people in China want to buy a watch, they want to have something that is really Swiss, if it's a Swiss-made watch.
That makes sense. What do you think was the issue with the Hindi one? Because, obviously there's a bunch of people that speak that language, and India is a massive destination for watch appreciation. What do you think was the challenge there?
Frankly, I have the feeling that is the nicest model.
It's beautiful looking.
It is really elegant. It's really clear. I think for me, it's the nicest one, but it was the less appreciated. I don't know why. I have no idea.
I have a guess.
Tell me.
Well, sometimes the problem is actually the creativity, because we know that actually creative things takes a bit of time to become popular. And usually it is not the first person to do it. It maybe is the most trendy person to do it, which gets the revolution going. But there is very little demand because there are very few watches like this. So people don't immediately know to like it. All these other ones, there's sort of some demand. There's, this group of people that love the Hebrew dials. We know this. The Chinese is sort of a special subset, smaller, but there. Of course, the traditional one, people already know that. But the Hindi is the most exotic because you don't see that very often. And I think that there might be a renaissance in the future of it, and people will look back. But this is one of the amazing things with good watches, is that a good watch is timeless. Maybe we agree on this. But what isn't guaranteed is if it will be popular, because sometimes the moment of time that pop culture wants to like it has not come yet, or maybe has passed. And therefore, popularity and product quality, there's always a difference there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably, yes.
And so I think that when you look at it, you say, this is good. And what I have found, and I'd like your opinion, because you come from some brands that have been pushing some of the classic designs for a long time, is that if you stick to a design that you know is good long enough, and you push it and you believe in it, eventually others will see what you see. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yes.
What is the best way to do that in the watch world? What did you maybe learn from the Swatch Group, who, for some of the brands have done that quite well? Hamilton with the khaki. Again, great design that they've been able to keep making, still feels fresh. What did they do right?
It's not easy, you cannot say in the morning, waking up and say, I want to develop an iconic watch. So, sometimes you are totally surprised by the product. Sometimes you do a product that you are sure that will be the great, the fantastic, the marvelous product because you trust on it. And at the end, it sells, but okay, it's kind of hard. And sometimes you do a product that you feel, okay, it's a little bit boring product. And at the end, it sells a lot. More crazy the product is, less you have a chance to sell it. Is something which is really, really, really surprising. But when I was working for Swatch or Hamilton or Rado, so I had in mind to develop always something that was a bit crazy. The bit crazy was interesting to communicate. The bit crazy was a way to bring the brand somewhere else. That is going to communicate because for instance, all the medias, they prefer to have something that is special to talk about, because a boring product or a normal product is going. Okay, it's nice, you can wear it, nobody will have troubles with it, but at the end, it's not really interesting also to talk about in the magazine. So my strategy was to create always something really weird, really bizarre to bring the brand a step further. And then I think the customer is looking at the product, and he when he is buying also a normal product, is going to think that he's buying the crazy model. And even if he has the product that is normal, he has the craziness of the talking, the PR tool, if you want.
Yeah. I loved those crazy watches. I've probably seen some of the ones you came out with. Always appreciate you did it. And I want the industry to continue doing it. And I have a kind of philosophy I developed. I wrote an article about a while ago, and it has to do with this sort of popularity of what I call classic watches versus futuristic watches. And this is what I came up with. And again, I love your opinion. And you have in the industry, you definitely have watches that when you're designing it, you're either sort of looking forward or looking behind you. There's really nothing else, right? So what I found is that when economic times are good, people are thus optimistic about the future. They believe that they have something to look forward to in the future. There tends to be more open-mindedness to what we'll call futuristic designs. Conversely, when people are afraid of the future, pessimistic about it, and being nostalgic about the past, as they are today and have been for at least 10 years now, there is a deep interest in familiarity, comfort, classicism, reminders of better times, so to say. And I think for myself, that is a perfect explanation as to why the, we'll call it just the classic watch trend has been so strong. And I'm sometimes guilty of it because some of those watches are fantastic and beautiful. Yours, your core design is a good example of how nice it can be. But I'd like your thoughts on this analysis of the segmentation.
Yeah, you're totally right. So you look at the watches, let's say 15 years ago, they were big, bold, colored, with stones. So usually you couldn't close your shirt on top of the watch because they were really big and bulky, because everyone was, in a really good period. And I wanted to show that they really succeed in everything. And all the brands were doing 45 millimeters diameter, up to 50 and more. The watch was big, the more the watch was accepted. And today it's something which is really interesting, because you have to develop something which is smaller. You can see, today the trend is really going to 36. It's amazing. The people are willing to make them a pleasure to buy a watch, but they don't want to show it. They want to keep it for them. They want to have something that is going to be hidden by the shirt, but they want to have something nice. They still want to have the freedom and the pleasure to buy something. Now, I would say also there is a big trend in the vintage watches. You can see, of course, there are a lot of market of vintage pieces. People, they are the second hand watches. We don't call it the second hand, but the pre-owned watches today. So there is a big trend because there is a massive retail, of course, of connected watches, which is doing which is a big success. So either you want to have something that is going to be futuristic, something that is going to keep you connected, and at the contrary, you want, other people want to have something that has a history, that has a background, and these are two different type of customers. So it's either futuristic, either vintage style. And then for me, for my brand, Elka, the brand died in the 70s. And then my idea was to resuscitate the brand in the 70s, exactly when the brand died because of the venue of the quartz. And so I didn't want to have a gap between the old brands and the new gap. So and the new brands. So this is the reason why I have chosen also with my logo, which it's not the old logo, but invented logo. And also the design of the pieces are really reminding this time of the 60s, 70s. I would say more in the 69, not after the 70s and not before, not the beginning of the 60s. But in fact, they are quite bigger than in the past, because if you want to buy a vintage watch or a pre-owned watch, so then you really buy an old watch. You don't want. So if you want to buy a watch, which is done today, it have to have the codes of today also. So then I would say my brand is kind of neo vintage watch. It's not an old one, but it has the aesthetic and the feeling of the past.
Thank you for sharing all that. I had a question for you. Maybe you haven't thought about it, but I've recognized that if times change, brands can also change. We have, of course, some of the older brands that throughout the past, throughout the 20th century, they, of course, adapted the design. Do you think that if the economy changed and people started becoming more optimistic about the future, you could sort of advance your design throughout the ages? Like you start with a vintage design. Could you sort of catch up to make Elka a timepiece of today? Very few brands have done this in the modern era. But I think it's an interesting design exercise. Could it be done?
Of course. The thing is, I want to keep, the brands it was in the 70s now. Probably then I will grow up also with the age. So today is 70. In 5 years, it will be 75. Maybe, the time is going to be faster. I don't know. But I really want to keep this area because I like this area. The first thing what I can do, is going, and what the brand is going to do also, is going to colors. So you can see a try. Every brand is doing try on colors. So this year you saw, the pink, you see the blue, and I do also have this kind of colors in the watch, because I think the people are bored about the bad. Okay, that was the COVID. That was, the war in Ukraine. There was, a lot of things happening also the last months, the last years. But I think there is kind of ras-le-bol, we say in French, which is okay. They are bored about the black period. So sometimes. Brands are trying to have a bit more colored things. That is a kind of wish to have better days. And then so we start by colors. And after that, I would say probably it's also by the size. And after that, also something that is going also, if it's really good days, that will be with stones and so on. There are kind of events that are changing the design, and there are also periods that are better than others, and the trend is going also to evolve. Let's see what is going to be in the next years, and I hope it's going to be a little bit more open, but I hope everyone is going to still wear watches, automatic watches for the most, because of course the watches are kind of jewels, men's jewels. It's like I'm always comparing watches and cars. It's something that it's a mechanical jewels, and
it serves a jewelry-like purpose. It's not exactly the same as jewelry, but it serves a jewelry-like purpose. I was listening very carefully when you're talking about using colors to make yourself feel better. I agree in a lot of ways. I'm not so convinced that this sort of color pop trend will last forever. I think if you look back in fashion industry, you see these moments that are relatively brief where like crazy bright colors are loved and explored, and then it sort of dies down. And but I still enjoy it. I still think it's great. But I wonder if there's a price point. Like you have a price point about 1,600 Swiss francs, which I think is where people can comfortably buy one of your watches to say, you know what, maybe I already have a watch this style, but I don't have one with a lime green dial, right? So if you have a color that they've been personally interested in, your design is conservative enough to work with almost anyone. So that in addition to selling a nice vintage style watch, you also have this fashion play, or if somebody wants a nice classic looking watch, but in a very specific color, you can make a version of your dial in really almost any color, crazy color combinations, I'm sure. And because it is such a timeless style, it'll serve. And so I think that's interesting for me, is that brands, they haven't said, I'm going to be the watch for people who want magenta. But that's sort of an interesting niche. You know what I mean?
Yes. Of course, I mean, the design that I have are really something that, in my opinion, when I develop it, so I had two options, either going to something totally crazy or going to do something really, vintage. So we don't say vintage in English, but something that is with a spirit of the past to redevelop the watch. And I think...
What do you think about the word retro? We say this in America a lot. It's very retro.
Yeah, it could be something like a neo-retro. It's a new retro. Yeah. It's not a real retro. But I think it's something that is going to last for many years. So when you have a Elka watch, it could have been worn, 10 years ago. It can be worn in 10 years or in 20 years or 30 years. Because, it's an automatic movement, of course, and that is going to last for, let's say, the watches that we can find on the market or in museum, they could have something like 400 years, is something that is still repairable. And, every brand has done also really contemporary design. And sometimes, so they're really talking about one period of time. So let's say 20 years ago, everyone was doing big dials with different levels and a lot of colors, but they are lost in this period. Today, you can't wear anymore this type of product. But I would say the Elka watch, like I have the X model or the D model, there are pieces that you could wear because they already have the style of the past. It's like I'm also riding Harley Davidson. The Harley Davidson is something that is not going to die or to change because it's something that looks like coming from the past. It has already a history in its style. But if you take a motorcycle that is really kind of racing motorcycle because of the color, because of the style, in 5 years, the look will be already overpassed, because it's something that is going to evolve. If you already, develop something with a retro style, so you know that is going to last 4 years.
I'm really curious, Hakim, what was the crazy futuristic direction you were maybe going in, right? Because you said you had to decide. Like, describe it a little bit.
Okay. Have you seen, the collection? So it's on my Instagram, but my private profile. You can see pieces that I did, like the Time Player, like the Space Odysseys, or like...
I remember those from Hamilton.
It's all about Hamilton, or I did also a few pieces also when I was working at SWAT. They were really, really crazy. So it was something really kind of futuristic, something more like art pieces, more than a watch that you can wear. But I think at the beginning, so it's something that I didn't want to start, because I just want to make a name of the brand, okay? And probably in, let's say, a few times, when the brand will be more known, I will maybe start playing also, but
Okay.
keeping the period of the 70s. I will not come with something too futuristic. That if I'm doing something that will be like a neo-retro futuristic, if you see what I mean, something like you know, I mean, in the old movies, where you have the old movie that were talking about the futures, and I love this kind of movies. I love this kind of designs. So it is something crazy, looking like past futuristic things.
Yeah, like classic science fiction.
Yes, exact.
Hi, this is Ariel Adams, founder of aBlogtoWatch, with a message about eBay. I visit eBay daily and have been relying on eBay to learn about and acquire watches for more than 20 years. Did you know that you can now buy watches directly from brands or their authorized dealers on eBay? Timepieces coveted by watch enthusiasts from brands like Zodiac, Laco, Parallel, and more are part of eBay's Certified by Brand program. Here's how it works. Luxury names are partnering with eBay to bring brand new and pre-owned watches and other luxury accessories directly to you. Certified by Brand includes a minimum 1-year factory warranty for watches and offers an unprecedented selection of new and used watches directly from the source, all with the peace of mind you can expect from eBay. Visit ebay.com/certified by brand for more information. So, again, I'm thinking about all this, and I'm remembering a little while ago in Los Angeles, I was at an exhibit, a Stanley Kubrick exhibit.
Yes.
And there they had the original Hamilton watch from 2001. Mm-hmm. And I wondered, why did Hamilton, they made sort of a replica of it, but not like an exact one. Like, what was it? That was such a cool thing. Why was that relationship not celebrated a little bit more? Like, they love talking about the Hollywood thing. I'm just curious if there's any behind the scenes story about 2001, because I thought that would have been such a cool watch to sort of just make a real world version of it rather than what was made, which was kind of a strange thing.
Yeah. So in fact, we redid it. So that was at the 60th anniversary. That was in 2011. We did a replica, which was really closer to the original. So in 2001, for the 50th anniversary, they wanted to do something.
I remember. Yeah.
And then, so we did something in 2011, something really, really close, with a 3 small display on the bottom of the watch, plus a big dial on top. That was really looking like the old piece. And so the 3 small dials, of course, I mean, in the movie were something like digital, something special, but I mean, not functional pieces. I think for the movie, they did something like, 60 or 70 years ago, they did a prototype. They did 5 prototypes, if I'm reminding well. And so we did something really close, and we took the smallest moment that ETA had at this period, that was the E01, and to set the time, that was with a small magnet to set the time. That was really crazy. And so that was the first piece in 2011. And I guess that was in 2012, we redesigned it completely. And that was a little bit more futuristic piece. That was really nice, all black with sapphire crystal on side, on top. It was a really crazy piece. So it's something it's called, I think, Space Odyssey 2. From Hamilton.
Yeah, I just wonder why they didn't move more forward with it, because there seemed to be all this people that would buy it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no right or wrong reason. I just wondered from your perspective, because you had this. That's one of the most interesting things about Hamilton was these watches in movies, but also the fact that I guess producers would call you guys up and be like, "Hey, we have 5 days. Design us something crazy." Like, how often did that happen?
Yeah, it happens. So we did a few pieces for the movies, and we sent them also sometimes. But sometimes that was also a question from the movie designers. And I wanted to have something crazy. I do remember also once we did something for a movie that I can't tell the name, but we had to develop something really in a short time. So, I mean, that was only a dial, I remember. But so we had really, as you said, 5 days to develop the dial. We sent it. But at the end, so another brand won to be in the movie, because in the story they were in the book they were talking about a specific brand, and at the end, so they didn't take Hamilton. But it's true. I mean, sometimes so we had question, we had demands to do crazy things, but in the timing that was not feasible sometimes.
More recently, I think the brand has been successful leveraging that again. They've done a better job of sort of coordinating, the advertising with the movie or the video game, coming out, and actually making those watches for sale. I remember I was with Sylvain when he was there, and Interstellar came out, and this was when there was a prototype watch, and it has this little moving hand that sort of does this kind of Morse code thing, and it has part of the plot and all that. And at the time, he was like, "Yeah, we're not going to make these." And I was like, "Okay." So I wrote this article about this cool thing because he showed me the prototype, or the prop, so to say, from the movie. And then I was like, Sylvain, you would actually do well making these and selling them. He was like, "I don't know." And then they did it. They sell like crazy, and and they make a bunch of different versions of it. And it's like, you know what I mean? What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, that's true. That's true. I mean, yeah.
It came out years later. If the watch was sold when the movie had come out, think of how much better they did. There was such a lag time. It was very positive that this movie ended up being popular. But imagine this sort of strange thing where there's no thinking that people might want to buy this. But if you were able to coordinate it, it's like in America, we know that like when the movie comes out, the merchandise better be available. The kids' movie, you got to be able to buy the toys in the toy stores right after they go see the movie. Otherwise, what are you doing? It comes out 6 months later. You've already missed the mark. But that type of, I'll call it organization or coordinating product with marketing releases is something that the brands have been doing better and better. But you can see that for many years, they were just terrible at that, right? But these days, it's so important. What did you learn? What are some best practices that you learned about running your own brand when spending a lot of time with this watch group, Hamilton and Rado? Probably you have such a more mature, studied approach to starting a brand than if you were just a designer entrepreneur who never had that corporate experience.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Hamilton, so that was in 2002 when I started working with the brands. When the brands came from USA to Switzerland, we were 5 people running the brands. It was like, that's
wow.
Amazing. That was really, kind of, how do you say that? Also a micro brand that was also like a startup that was really nice. So we were Matthias, myself, and the guy for the finance and the guy for logistic, and we were a really, really, really small team. And it is really the period that I like the most. Developing things, no rules also. So we could just, start from scratch because, we had a big freedom to develop something. So Hamilton did tons and tons of designs, and it was really easy to pick pieces from the past and to redevelop the future with the history of the brand. And when I started also working for my own brand, so I was looking for the name, of course, but then I was looking at the past of the brand to see what the brand was doing. And so, I'm kind of at the same level when I started also working for Hamilton. So I'm by my own today. I don't have the power of the Swatch Group for the retailers, for the suppliers, for everything. But I have the chance to have worked with lots of people Okay, that could be, suppliers or retailers, and they know me. And today, so I have from everyone the chance to have the support of them, which is really, really, really good. So the Swatch Group helped me, in fact, to start also my company. Today, I have the freedom of doing what I want, which is, amazing. I don't have time to take to have meetings, because I'm doing my meetings by myself when I'm riding my bicycle or running or walking my dog. So all the meetings are like this, which is fantastic. I have to go to shows. So I'm just coming back from 3 days of shows. So this is the reason why I don't have the voice today. But I learned a lot in the past. I learned a lot with Swatch also when I was working there to create pieces, because we at that time, so we did something like 400 pieces a year, 400 design a year. So and I was handling the Ivory collection and the skin collection. So I learned a lot to be creative, to be on time, to be ready for everything on time. But today, the only thing is probably also the thing that's okay. Just going a little bit back. I have the freedom, but I learn every day. Every day I learn developing things. I have to develop the display. I have to develop the watches. I have to develop the marketing, the website. I have never done a website before. It's interesting. And also, the way of launching also the product. For instance, I can show you, I don't know if you see me on the screen. I will launch this week 2 new dials.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm learning. I'm today something almost 58, and I still learn every day something. It's amazing.
No, you have to love learning to be an entrepreneur, right? Because if you don't,
yes.
Good luck with that.
I love that. By the way, I'm developing a second project in parallel also, which is really interesting. I just got a few samples here. It's amazing. I love developing. So I think I'm a developer.
Now, you mentioned about the freedom you have, and yes. I wanted your opinion on some of the reputation that big groups like the Swatch Group and others have, where there isn't a lot of freedom and that creativity is difficult to get through all the decision-making and risk aversion process. Do you think that the big brands would benefit if there was more liberalism in decision-making? It wasn't so difficult. Do they have a lot to gain by being more relaxed?
Okay, I will not talk about myself, because I had a big freedom working with Hamilton. As I told you, we were 5 at the beginning. So then there is no real rules. There are no hierarchies. So I had the chance to have the freedoms developing the products, because people were trusting in myself. I know this is not the case in all the companies, because they want to, so they are the product managers, and after that the boss of the management of the product management, and so there are a lot of hierarchies, and at the end this for me kills the product. The product is nice when you develop it from scratch, when the product is rough, because he has a kind of real spirit, he has something to tell. If the product is passing by 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 hands, at the end, he will lose his taste. He will lose everything. So it's better when you have less hierarchies in developing a product. That's my opinion. If you
want. I think that makes a lot of sense. Looking at your watches, they have the G100 automatic movement produced in Switzerland, like by Le Jeu Perret. And I think there's sort of an interesting story to tell here, because you were at Swatch Group at the time when there was this really big fight about, we don't want to sell ETA movements to people that we don't want to sell it to. And the Hayek family said to the watch industry, remember, go out there, develop your own factories, figure out other ways of doing it, invest in whatever. And they said this. This was something that they said. And now you have a lot of it, probably more than they would have guessed would have happened. And now you have this interesting situation where you have Le Jouperet owned by Citizen, which is a great company, Japanese company, however. And now you, former Swatch, is now choosing this, it's Swiss made, but based upon a Japanese architecture, a real hybrid, if you will, of the best of Japanese and Swiss elements to bring to a watch movement. Talk about the decision, because I know as a watch person, you don't just choose movements lightly. Talk about why this made sense for you. And is this sort of an irony?
Yeah, it could be a kind of irony, of course, but I think so. At the period when Mr. Hayek Senior said, "I want to open, to close the distribution. I want to not be the only one providing movement to all the brands." I think at the beginning, so I didn't understood why, because that was a big market, but I think it was really wise things to do it because today, so you have competition. And competition means you have the choice of having things and also to have novelties, creativities. Because if you have only one supplier, let's compare to the cell phone industry, you have one brand or two brands, and that's it. In the watch industry, in the movement industry, at the beginning, so you had only one supplier. Today, you have the choice to choose whatever you want to have to as a model for your watch. I'm really happy to have that, and in fact, I had the chance also to work with La Jouperet, because I think, as you said before, with Citizen Group behind. So you have the power of also of a big group, which is in the back, but you have the really good quality of movement, the really nice technology, which is also a Swiss made, so a hybrid between Japanese and Swiss, but all Swiss made movement, which is really good. But of course, it's kind of irony. And also, it's I would not be able also to buy the small quantities that I'm asking because at the beginning, so I did my Kickstarter last year, so the volume is not high, and I'm pretty sure so I would not be able to buy also 300 or 400 pieces a year at the Swatch Group, because they want to have also big volumes players. So
that's very interesting. So you're saying that in addition to them offering, this interesting product through Le Jouperet, they're easier to do business with, or they offer more flexibility. And I guess what's interesting for me is that a couple of years ago I was concerned that the smaller brands like Elka and others would face a time where they couldn't get their watches made. That with the suppliers being purchased by the big groups, it would be increasingly difficult to just find anyone that could offer that. And if you wanted to make watches, you'd have to buy all the machines, and there's very little you could buy. Mm-hmm. Now it seems that at least when it comes to movements, you're pretty safe. Like there seems to be a lot of good options, even within Swiss made. So my question to you is, do you agree? Do you agree that for the next, foreseeable future, a watch brand like yours and above, of course, in terms of price point, has a pretty good range of options when it comes to buying watch movements?
Yeah, they do have now. So there are they are different watch movement. Like I would say also today Hennessy for the high end brands, but you need to have also some volumes to buy. So it's kind of entry fees also to be there. You have also Soprod, you have also Celita. You can also find your movement, and they are increasing also the quality, the processes, and also the offer they do have. And also La Jouperet is also going to increase the number of models, the quality, and the technology. So they have the chrono, they have the GMT, they have different type of product that is going to come to the market soon. Yes, there are offers to new brands like this. Now, okay, I would say, as I said also before, I have the chance to have been in this business for 25 years. And I know a lot of people, and I think that also helps to have different type of product movement. That could be the sapphire, that could be the case, that could be the movement or the straps. And probably also the chance to have smaller quantities while developing small volumes. Because I'm not working like other micro brands. I develop my product. I have only one case. And then I have different dials and different hands and different straps. And that is the only thing. So then I'm really working with that. I'm doing my own logistics. So I built, I developed, I did the technical design of the product. So then it's kind of puzzles. I would say other micro brands, they have subcontractors who are doing the whole things. Okay. And probably these subcontractors, they have the connections with the movement manufacturer, with the case manufacturer, and they are buying big quantities. And that, I think, is easier probably for other brands doing like this. Myself, I choose to develop, like I did for Hamilton, like for Rado, to buy every component, and then it's a puzzle. And I'm looking at which product is really selling, and then I'm giving to my watch assembler the pieces. And
well, your way, while not the most headache-free way on the surface, allows you to have ultimate control over quality and the price of manufacturing. So you know that you're protecting yourself from scaling problems. Because if you need to scale with a third-party service provider that does everything, they will put huge barriers in front of you. So, you talk about it humbly, but you already know the mistakes not to make.
Yes. No, it's right. I mean, I'm doing like this because, okay, that is my job, the job I did for many years, and I know how to handle this. And I can do small production of 5 pieces, okay? But if I would have to develop the brand with a third part, who is going to do the case, the dial, and everything, I think I would have to take probably, big volumes of one dial, of one piece. Probably I could change the straps. That would be the only thing. But today I'm able to do, the dial I want. I can add the hands I want. I can do the engraving I want on the back because I have a lot more flexibilities than others.
One question I have about movements is something I've noticed recently, and it's a very different thing than sort of, I'll call it classic strategy. And that is the notion that you can more or less get away with having, just time only. Whereas in the past, there seemed to be this pressure to say, okay, we start with time only, got to have a chronograph now, eventually got to have a tourbillon, got to have a GMT. And while, yes, there is an interest in adding more complications, I think it's more in the interest of artistic variety. It actually seems that for a lot of consumers, if you play with a lot of other design elements, they don't really seem to care about too many other complications in the time. I'd like your opinion on this.
Yeah, it's right. So it's a strategy also, in terms of moment and what you are going to choose. Either you play with the habillage, we call it habillage in French, which is the outside, the design of the piece. And then, of course, you need what? You need 2 hands, 3 hands to read the time. That's enough. Okay. Now, if you want to take to have something a little bit more sporty, of course, you want to have a chronograph, because the chronograph is going to show who you are. You are sporty, then you need to have a chronograph. Probably it's only to cook your eggs, but at the end, you look like someone who is going to do sports. But if you do sports, probably you are going to use something else. But of course, today
You're right. I love how honest you are with it.
Now, you can really play with it 2-3 hands. It's the simplest model. You can have also decorations on the back of the movement to show also the movement that is going also to cost you a lot. I mean, in terms of decoration, but it's really a strategy where you want to be, which price you want to achieve. And as I'm starting also with a new brand, with a new name, so the thing is, I didn't want to be over $2,000 or 2,000 euros. And in fact, the VAT in France is 21, and in Europe, I mean, like I would say in Sweden, I guess it's something like 25 euros. So then, 25%. And then, so the thing is, for the beginning, I just wanted to be under 2,000 euros because otherwise, most of the people are going to choose established brands with, everything that is going, with. So at the beginning, the idea is really to go with the two hands. Probably, in the future also, I will have a chrono, but not tomorrow, maybe after tomorrow. But I think is something that is bringing also something else to the brand, to have the chrono. Now, I don't know what.
It's okay.
I was lost here.
No, we're talking about the movements and the desire for different complications, and you said that you generally agree, and that you'd like, however, to add a chronograph. But I think we agree it's for style. I love the look of a chronograph. It's cool because it just seems like stuff is going on. But our brains are so easily tricked by things that are suggestive versus things that actually do things. And for me, this is the beauty of the watch industry: is it's the ability to trick our minds, to put us in a different mood, make us believe that we are an expert in some profession we don't know anything about, to trick the people that are looking a little bit. And once in a while they are a true, descriptor of who we are. We're basically out of time. We'll have to have another chat because there's so much we can speak about. The website is Elka Watch with a K, .ch. Hakim, where can people find out more about Elka and yourself on the internet?
So I have Instagram. It's Elka Watch Co, because I was hacked last year and then I lost Elka Watch. So
oh my gosh.
Elka Watch Co. Yeah, it's crazy. And today I can only play with 25 demands a day. So it's really going slow. But I think, I'm most on Instagram and LinkedIn, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, check out the brand, and don't forget to check out their collaboration between Elka Watch and Ace Jewelers of Amsterdam. This has been the interview with Hakim El Kadiri. Hakim, thank you so much for being on Superlative.
Thank you, Ariel. That was really a pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Superlative Podcast. This show relies on support from you, the audience. Please subscribe, review, and share Superlative with your friends. To get the latest watch news and enthusiast commentary, also listen to the aBlogtoWatch weekly podcast. For show ideas, comments, or business, please contact us at podcasts@aBlogtoWatch.com.